There's no point in having armies of bureaucrats. Unfortunately, I happen to be one of them. If you cannot attend to the grievances of the people. Why Western democracies score over us is because for normal day-to-day life, people do not suffer. Basic necessities of life are taken care of by the government. There may be corruption there, there may be violence there, but the common man is not put into much of an inconvenience. There are number of people in the government who are also hard working for the country, but there are too many who are highly feudalistic. One of the reasons why the Right to Information Act was passed is to make the government more transparent, more accountable. There are many decisions taken by the government the purpose of which people do not know. So now you have a right to ask. After a long struggle, this act came into existence. Now you, as the youth of this country, have to rise. You have to awaken yourselves to question the injustice, the illegality of many of our actions. Democracy has its flaws. As Winston Churchill stated, it is the least of the bad political systems yet invented. The past decade has been good time for democracies all over the world. As dictatorships have been retreating to a large extent, demand for ballot boxes, election observers, and people know how to run parliaments have no doubt been on the increase. For the first time in human history, a proportion of the population that live in countries that can claim to be greatly democratic is around 50%. Yet it has to be admitted that the citizens cannot be said to be totally free and enjoy good governance in the true sense of the word, as many of them are phony democracies. It is therefore necessary that many of these countries have to be persuaded to realize that ballot boxes are necessary for democracy, but at the same time, they are far from sufficient or adequate. They have to be educated about the importance of free speech, the rule of law, free press, independent judiciary, and effective delivery system. In some of these phony democracies, apart from rigged press and gagged courts, violence and corruption flourish in a friendly environment, undermining the democratic code. Democratic governance is indeed the key to developing sustainable civil society. When our Constitution was adopted, our Prime Minister mentioned, in other countries, real full-blooded democracy came after a good deal of education had spread because of the economic revolution and all that which had prepared the ground for it, which had added to the resources of the country and thereby made it easier to fulfill the demands made by the people in these countries. In most Asian countries, on the other hand, particularly in India, we have taken a huge jump to 100% political democracy without the wherewithal to supply the demand which a politically conscious electorate makes. There is a hiatus between desires and their non-fulfillment, and all our political life is really concerned with how rapidly to bridge this vast gulf, this hiatus. Although we are proud to be able to have a democratically elected government uninterruptedly since we became republic, current trends are far from encouraging. As I mentioned, there is a need for transparent and accountable governance, which is not there. Political parties are mushrooming day by day. We have about nearly 1,000 now, not based on sound political ideologies, but on basis of considerations of subdivisions and divisions based on language, caste, community, and so on. There are far too many divisions and subdivisions in our multilingual, multi-religious, and multicultural society, with criminal and corrupt elements exploiting the ignorance and illiteracy of the people. The conflicts among these members of divided segments of our society are occurring almost regularly and are increasing in speed day by day. The relationship of many deep-rooted conflicts to democratic governance in India is complex, as indeed on some occasions democracy itself can encourage or even aggravate civil conflicts in certain circumstances because of the freedom available. The political mobilization of people for electoral or other purposes is frequently achieved by narrow identity appeals. Most conflicts feature complex interactions of different forces, reinforced by poverty and illiteracy on one hand, ignorance and suspicion on the other, often highlighted by violence and corruption. We have to take note of the fact that there are many multicultural, multiracial societies successfully coexisting. Many of today's functioning multiracial cultural societies such as Canada, Belgium, Australia, Switzerland, Singapore, and the United States have built their success on being a melting pot of many different and diverse cultures and religions. Elsewhere, divided communities with distinct religious or cultural traditions have been able to maintain competitive but cordial relations between different groups. Since conflict is not necessarily a negative process and can be converted into a tool conducive to good governance, it is desirable if the conflict takes place within a forum of bounded behavior, namely rule of law. It follows that if we have to show considerable strides in our progress, we need to realize the importance of rule of law and transparency with accountability in governance. In order to realize considerable strides in our progress, we need to realize the importance of equality before law and the rule of law. We have to respect the rule of law. The next most important requirement is discipline and education, as also tolerance and maturity. Fighting poverty in developing countries is the most important area of concern for most of these democratic countries. James Wolfenson of the World Bank, in his annual report 2000, says, achieving a world free of poverty is an enormous and complex undertaking, and solutions are far from simple. The challenges are multi-dimensional, that they call for people, groups, and institutions to come together to play a wide range of roles in a collegial, collective effort. It's only with strong coalitions, local, national, regional, and global, that we will succeed in fighting poverty. That much is clear. Our strategy to fight poverty has therefore to be multi-pronged.